and what this has provided for me. There we go. And what's provided for me. And it's like we got this gift, right, that we came across. And who would we be if we didn't share that with everyone? So we're all at different parts in our life, and we all get different things from the life book and the Habits of Health book. That's why it's so important to get in community and share our experiences with each other, because something I say may reach someone else that they didn't get from their coach, and vice versa. We can all learn from each other's experiences. And so I want to just affirm Patrick and Sherry last week for getting us through element 13, tracking your journey. And again, that is so important, is getting the habit of tracking. And so with that, they did a good job, and we all shared some experiences and testimonies to tracking and sharing. And I just want to go a little deeper as far as some of the resources available to you in doing so, because Optavia and Dr. A has done a really, really good job at not just telling us what to do, but making it very easy for us. So looking into your life book, I'm in element 13, just again, putting a bow on that. Pages 254, 255, 56, 57. You could see there's daily health logs, habits of health for hydration, eating, your motion, your sleep, your mindset. And getting in the habit of tracking these things, while it may seem a little bit mundane at first, once you get into the habit of doing things, it's going to pay off big time, because you'll start to notice trends and differences versus just, how did my energy start sinking? Oh, well, we can identify I wasn't tracking this and that. I'm going to share my screen really quick, because I think it's something that I came across and not a lot of people know about. But it's all in your books as you read. He tells you, go to habitsofhealth.com. If for those in the, if you could put in the chat, like how many people have heard of that? Just put like a 1 for if you've gone to habitsofhealth.com and seen what resources are available to you. Sometimes your coach may send it to you in one of your beginning texts, and you may get a little bit overwhelmed. So maybe you didn't get a chance to check it out, but I just want to share that with you, because that is a big key in tracking. And it's good to see a lot of 1s in there, because again, it's a resource to you. So I'm gonna, Tim, are you able to allow me to share my screen? And if not, we'll just know, maybe I'll put a post in Nourish later, but okay. I'm gonna share my screen really quick and just show you guys what I'm talking about. So here I have Optavia client answers. If you haven't been to this page, this is for you, everyone on this journey. Programs and guides, this is where you can find all of your guides to print out if you wanted to. However, habitsofhealth.com, this is what it looks like. This is Dr. A's other website. And you're gonna go to system resources. And this is coincides with element 13 tracking, because there's a lot of good content on here as you're starting. Here's those daily health daily log, or weekly logs, etc. Go ahead and check that out on your own time. But he has different resources for everything from grocery list, glycemic charts, which we want low glycemic index food, right? And eating and hydration resources, all these good content. If you don't have a chance, check it out, print it out, have it in your binder or in your office. And it's going to be very important. Not maybe 5-in-1 is super simple and straightforward, where you eat 5 feelings and you make your lean and green. But some of these resources are really important once we hit element 13 and 14, where we're transitioning to healthy eating for life. Because we don't want to do the 5-in-1 forever. It wasn't designed for that. Looking in your little binder, your Optavia guide, it tells you there is a process of phases that we go through. And we start at a phase where we're come to the program and we're maybe overweight, or we're at a current reality where we want to make some change. And then we go through weight loss. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is transition to healthy eating to maintain. And then we go into optimization. So for those of you that saw my post in Nourished, there is right here, TE calculation chart. Hopefully some of you printed that out, and we're going to be going over this process today in a little bit, a little challenge at the end. and calculating maybe your current TEE, so you have a better understanding of how much energy your body really uses at your current weight, because there is a formula, and what that means for your weight loss, your current rate of loss, or maintaining what you've accomplished so far in this journey. And then I also mentioned you guys could print out the other version, Ultra Health, and that's where you're optimizing, and it's very specific. You could see they use a scenario and they walk you through that at a deeper level. So all good stuff to know. So I'm going to stop that share on the screen. Check it out if you haven't. That's all I have to say. So I'm just going to take an opportunity to allow anyone that has actually gone through and calculated the TEE, and maybe just share real quickly. I'll take one or two people that have actually done this and want to share with the greater community how that process went for you. Do we have any takers?
Hey, Chris, Jamie Hurd here.
Yes, go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I calculated my TEE some time back once I transitioned and started working towards optimal health. And it was extremely easy to do. I used the online calculator, but I was also kind of old school and wanted to do it, on my paper with pen and paper too. So super easy. I love that Optavia gives you some guidelines as far as, okay, you can have 1,500 calories. Here's a 1,500 calorie meal plan that includes your fuelings and optimal fueling. So super easy. I feel like they cover us from start to continuing on. So I had a great experience with it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So again, it's not meant to be intimidating, everyone. Calculating your TEE is a very simple formula, and we're going to cover that today. And it's for your knowledge. So do we have anyone else that wants to share before I move forward and get into a little bit of the habits of health book and how this corresponds?
Chris, I'll share. Allie Ringaman here, client and coach. So this is a little different. So although I did calculate when I transitioned, this just goes to show you how, or my experience, how it can shift. And so initially I was a little bit more active and when I transitioned and everything, but I had, a back issue and it sort of slowed me up. So I actually had to go back and utilize it again to adjust my intake, because I started to get to the point where my intake was a little too much, because my activity had really come down, and so as I started going through physical therapy, so I had to adjust that. And same thing, I just did mine manually, even though I don't like math, it's easy enough, and was able to see, okay, I need to scale back a little bit on what I'm bringing in, because my activity level, just to line it up, and that way I could still be safe maintaining and not get used to so much intake and less activity and then have things go the other direction. So either way you look at it, it's always beneficial to just do a recheck if your activity level changes. And of course we benefit from that. So that was kind of my experience. So
I love that. I want to jump in here real quick. Is it Sabra? I see your microphone is turned on. Did you have something you wanted to share?
Nope, that was by accident. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. No worries. So I think I just wanted to share really quick in this, because I think one of the things that I really my eyes were open when I started to calculate my TE was I was so used to eating a certain amount, right, when I was overweight. And if you don't know my story, I've lost 90 pounds. And my experience was in life and losing weight was always like, oh, yay, I'm going to get back to eating all of these things. And when I calculated my TEE, in order for my body to stay at that higher weight, 90 pounds heavier, it required me to eat a lot more calories. And so the story I had in my mind about when I got to a healthy weight, being able to bring a lot of those foods back, it wasn't that I couldn't. It was just that they contained so much calories that eating those things were going to just bring me back to that place that I was before. And so what I didn't realize is because my body is smaller, because I lost 90 pounds, it required less food, less calories, less energy. And so thus my TE was a lot less, even though I was more active because I had lost weight. So it's really helpful in just dealing with the facts, right? And then you can deal with the emotional side of your expectation that you kind of put around getting healthy and what that's going to mean. So I love the way that I've learned to look at it now. It's still a challenge at times, but the challenge is for me to look at how I can fuel my body when it needs more fuel for the activity that I want to engage it with. So that's all I had to share about that. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get into the books now and really unpack what Dr. A is sharing with us. And so right now I'm looking at my life book, Element 14, and on page 267, he has that chart I was talking about. And maybe we all came into this program at a certain point where we were seeking change, and maybe we're in the overweight, obese category, or somewhere in that point where we had physical change that we were looking for. And so we go into phase 1, which is fat loss or weight loss, and it's the 5-in-1 program for most people that started. And it's a very structured plan, right? And if you correspond in your Habits of Health book, I have both out. And if you didn't know, you should be following your reading. They work together. So look for the little cues. I'll point one out in the next page. But 2.8 is the corresponding Habits of Health book. And he gives us the acronym Be Slim. So weight loss phase 1, we're really reinforcing Be Slim. It's an easy acronym. Breakfast. Remember, what's one of the first things that you're on program? We have to eat within an hour, 30 minutes to an hour of waking up. We want to get our metabolism started. So we started that, and then exercise. And he says in here, when we first are starting 5-in-1, we kind of withheld adding exercise initially because our body's going through some changes. We don't want to overload it or shock it. So he said he recommends 3 weeks, maybe your first month. If you're already exercising, just tone it down a little bit. And that exercise is going to be key part of our weight loss, as we're going to calculate our TE and see why. Tim touched on it. He lost a significant amount of weight. So his TE dropped significantly from when he first started. He had to supplement that energy out a little bit, and exercise is one of those ways that we do it. Support, just like you're on these calls, you check in with your mentor, or I'm sorry, your coach, your health coach, on a regular basis with and being part of our community calls. That's the support that's necessary. Low glycemic meals every 3 hours. I don't know about you. Share, you could put a 2 in the chat if you do this, but I still have on my phone a timer every 3 hours just to remind me in case, because life gets hectic. And although I just listen to my body now and I know when it's about 3 hours, there's always that friendly reminder just in case. I could always silence it if I need to. The I on Be Slim is individual plan. So you did a health assessment when you first started because the coach, maybe you didn't need to lose a significant amount of weight for 5-in-1. Maybe you're active lifestyle and you just wanted to learn healthy habits. You were on a 4-in-2, or maybe you came into it on a 3-in-3. But that's that individual plan that the health assessment provides. And then the last one, monitor. Just like Patrick and Sherry shared last week, Element 13, the importance of tracking and monitoring everything that we do. We're taking radical responsibility for our own health and not blaming it on the fast food that we drive by every day, or your friends pressuring you, or your family giving you a big plate of food and saying, oh, you need to eat this. Thanks, but no thanks. I know what I'm doing for my own health, and I'm going to take ownership of that. I'm not going to let other people make food choices for myself. And Tim, he could testify to this. In the fire service, guys are ruthless, and they're going to call you all these names and say, oh, you're eating that space food, or you're doing that thing. And if you let other people's opinions, and if you wear that, then say goodbye to your goals and dreams, because you're letting other people run your life. And it's just a reality. We have to take ownership of the choices we make. So monitoring everything, tracking everything, that's going to come huge to the amount of success that we have, and keeping on that track. Okay, so if you didn't know, in the habits, in the life book, Element 14, he touches on premature slowing of weight loss. So everyone gets started on 5-in-1, and you're killing it, and you're doing really good. The weight is coming off, and then people kind of hit to a point where they see things slowing down on the scale and they get discouraged. And I'm just going to tell you, there's so much more than just a number on a scale. We measure health in 6 categories, right? Just like in the habits of health, the macro habits of health, the jars analogy. Energy and sleep, is that better? That's a big key of health. And then your exercise, how much motion are you doing based on that energy you have, right? Because before we came in and we were tired and sluggish, and now, oh, I'm actually looking forward to a workout. I have more energy to play with my kids. All these things are important. Maybe your clothes are shrinking, and that weight management, BMI, waist size, and all those factors are still happening for you, even though the number on the scale isn't fluctuating much. Maybe it's went from 10 pounds in the first month to 4 pounds, but all these other non-scale victories are still happening for you. That is what we're talking about, total health. But there is a reason why your weight loss may be slowing down. And if you read through this, he tells you, as we start the program, I'll just use easy numbers, 200 pounds, right? You come in on 200 pounds, my goal weight is 150. So I come in 200 pounds, and we're gonna do this formula, but your TEE, or the amount of energy that your body uses, is going to be a lot higher initially. So we go on 5 and 1, and what is that? 800 to 1,000 calories a day. It's a safe calorie deficit plan that Dr. A and his dietitian and nutritionist came up with. So it protects all your macronutrients, and it gets you clean energy and all your vitamins and minerals. And that calorie deficit, 2,000, we'll just say, based on a calculation, maybe your body consumes 2,000 calories a day, and we're eating 1,000. So we're in 1,000 calorie deficit. So we times that times 1 week, 7 days, that's 7,000 calories. In the books, Dr. A tells us 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories of energy released. So maybe that is two pounds of fat a week. And then in that first month, we lost 8 pounds. But let's fast forward and say you got to your goal weight or close to it, and maybe your body is consuming 1,500 calories. It needs 1,500 calories a day, and we're still eating 5 and 1, so 1,000 for simple numbers. That's a 500 calorie deficit, and over 7 days, that's 3,500 calories. So now I'm only losing 1 pound of body fat a week, or 4 pounds in a month. So I'm like, the program's not working. I'm only losing 4 pounds. But don't forget, you just lost a lot of weight, and your body doesn't need as much calories or energy consumption to maintain itself. So we have to adapt and adjust. And that's what Dr. A is educating us, and why it's so important to get your books. So I'll just use this as another break. If anyone wants to come off and share something around that, maybe they experienced it and they worked with their coach and they found out a reason why they were able to figure out why their weight loss slowed down, or talk on that point. Anyone want to share? You could just come off mute.
Sure, I will.
Okay, Betty, go ahead.
Hi. So I've been on this program, I want to 5 months now, and my coach is Naomi Reyes, and I had that throughout my journey where I kind of felt confident on, like, okay, I was losing weight. The first 3 months I lost, I want to say I started at 231 and I went down 21 pounds my first 3 months. So I was like, okay, got confident, kept on doing it, and then all of a sudden I'm not losing any. But when I was doing my lean and green meals, I just felt comfortable not taking measurements of everything, I'm just eyeballing it. So now I went back on measuring everything, writing everything down, what I'm taking, what I'm drinking, everything, and that's helped. That's helped, and I've been checking in with her daily, like just snapping a picture and showing her, okay, I took this, and honestly, it's helped for me doing that, instead of just being, okay, I lost so much weight and then now nothing. My sleep has been getting better, everything. I have 3 little ones, and I'm able to have more energy throughout the day. So just wanted to share that.
All right, thank you. And I'm sure everyone has some type of story that applies to them, right, and their journey. But it's important just to know that if you are experiencing something, you're not alone. And that's why we have a Nourished to remind us that we're doing this together. So I was pulling up something on the back of my screen. I'm gonna share my screen again, and it may look similar in your book. So we're gonna pull up, share my screen here. And I kind of was using Dr. A's material again to help me facilitate this. But what we're doing is we're calculating our TE, right? So there's a few components. There's your BMR, basal metabolic rate, and that's what your body needs to function. And then there's physical activity levels. So that's going to be a formula, that part of the formula where we calculate our own expenditure of energy, whether it's through our job, maybe we're a physical job, or maybe you're a sedentary lifestyle, or you have a desk job where you don't get to move a lot. So we have to go and exercise. And then the thermal effect of food, how much energy it takes for our body to break down the food that we do consume. So here is that TE formula. If you're following along in your element 14 life book, you could see this on page 274. There is a fill in the blank spot, which is excellent. And then if you're in your habits of health book, it's going to be on page 327 in section 2.8 to calculate your TE. So these components, it's important to understand what you're doing or what you're calculating, so you know what it's doing for you. So again, your TE is blank, your weight in pounds, your current weight. So let's all get our papers out that we printed and just write that number down, times 11. And then it's going to give us a TE. That's just a rough number, but we haven't considered the activity level. So then the simple math is we're going to multiply it 1.2 for light exercise, 1.5 for moderate exercise, and 1.7 for heavy exercise. And then this is probably the page you see on your book. So that math that I was talking about was, we're going to calculate that number, and we're going to utilize to see our when we're transitioning, what we're consuming currently or what we're going to transition to. And you're going to minus phase 1, which was 5 and 1, about 800 to 1,000 calories. And you're going to see a difference in there. So if you're following along in your books, like, there's going to be this TE calculation is going to be important for your transition phase, which we'll cover next week, the part 2, which is how to transition and incorporate more food to your plan after you reach your goal weight or your healthy weight. And I think the more awareness you have, it's going to help you on your journey as far as reading labels and understanding what you're looking for something that you're going to eat, because now you're going to have more options. You're not just going to eat 5 fuelings and vegetable and protein. You're going to be eating starches, carbs, bread, fruit, a lot of other things that we sacrifice the good for the great, because we had a specific goal of weight loss and getting to our healthy weight. So now that we've reached that, we're going to incorporate, and it's more responsibility on you. So tracking and being on top of this is going to be even more important. And so again, a super simple formula, but it's necessary to know, because if we just guesstimate on that consumption, guess what? We're going to go back to our old ways, and we're going to undo a lot of the progress that we made. So does anyone want to just come off mute again and just share, maybe they didn't realize now that they've done this TE calculation, what their actual consumption should be? Anybody want to take a stab?
Hey,
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
this is Mike White. Let's see, I transitioned with my goal weight about 2 months ago. And the one thing, when I calculated my T and the factor for exercise, I wanted to say moderate, and because I felt like I was a moderate exerciser, but I went with the lower calculation just to be sure I didn't start adding weight back on. And I've fluctuated plus or minus a pound or 2 either way for a couple months now. So I guess for me, not overestimating my exercise was important, just so that I pretty much hit my T pretty good there.
Awesome. Congratulations on transitioning. And I'm sure that was very rewarding for you. And now you have the keys in place to eat healthy for life and maintain that. So anybody else? So we have a couple minutes left, and then we'll leave you with the challenge to do on your next check-in. Anyone else want to share with our community?
Hey Chris, what's up? It's Eric. How are you?
Yes, hi.
Hey, what I love about this is what I'm noticing is depending on the type of week I'm having, for me, will determine, and that's the beauty about what we do, guys, will determine the tea that I use. Medium, I'm about 2,500 calories. Heavy, I'm almost 3,000. Okay, so I want you guys to keep that in mind. It's also determined on, you know, your level of activity for that week. Let's say I'm on vacation. Well, guess what? I ain't working out. We all know that, right? So those are the things that we keep in mind when we're doing this. So that's what I love about this. It's just something, you know, a tool for every aspect of our life based on where we're at. So that's what works for me.
Hey, Chris,
Right.
I thank you, Eric. I wanted to add something in here. And so one of the things, it's fun to do this because I think one of the things that we get to do is tell ourselves the truth. And I don't know about you, but, and blink at me if this maybe resonates for you. We go about activity and we go, man, that was a pretty tough workout. And so what do? We overestimate what that workout is. So I just did some simple math based on my TEE. From the very light exercise to the heavy is a difference in 800 calories. Not extremely a lot, like if you think about it, right? And so knowing what your TEE is, I challenge you, I know Chris is going to challenge you here to do this today, is giving you the ability to be powerful with that information, like what Betty's doing. She shared, like, I was eyeballing it, right? We kind of do this thing where we're like, well, I've arrived, so I kind of dust my shoulders off. But in doing so, we're being irresponsible. And then what do? We typically blame ourselves or someone else, or like we're the victim to I can't ever be healthy. And in reality, it's right here in your hands. Like, you get to educate yourself on being healthy and what it's going to take for you. Right. And so at least you're armed with the right information to go about your day and go, I'm going to be extremely active. And what that means is, for my goals, that I can still lose weight, but I can also fuel my body in a way that gives me the energy I need for today. So I love how Dr. A breaks it down, and he puts it right squarely on our lap to be completely responsible for our health. And I love that. So Don, you want to share something and help us close this out here?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know we need to wrap up and respect everybody's time. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that the Habits of Health document, that is the super scientific formula. So if you're going to do a bodybuilding competition or a fitness model or anything like that, that's the formula you're going to need. It actually yields a lower TEE than the basic one. So I really just recommend the last one that Chris suggested is just your weight times 0.11 and then your activity factor. And you can always go lower on your activity factor, see what your body is going to do, and then bump up from there. So that's just my 2 cents.
Hello, this is my 5th day, and I just had a quick question. Before doing this, I would walk sometimes. Well, my goal would be to walk 3 or 4 miles a day. And I've tried to pick out a area where I could walk where it would be only burning 200 calories a day. And I keep overdoing it. Like yesterday, I burnt 225. The day before that, I burned 215. So I keep trying to pick out different routes where I can walk and that do it over 200 calories. And I keep my phone with me so I can, you know, determine, well, I don't need to walk that far. I need to walk this far. So I'm working on that because I'm used to walking at least 3 miles a day. So or sometimes 4, 5. So I wanted to know if right now on my 5th day, if I walk where I'm burning 225 like I did yesterday, is that going to kick me out of the fat burning, or will it ever start if I keep doing that?
Okay, good question. I'm sure a lot of people are in that same boat. Like, maybe your coach says, oh, try to stay in that 200 calorie range, because ultimately we don't want you to overdo it and create extra hunger in your body. Because remember, on 5-in-1, your main goal is weight loss. And if we're over exercising, you're kind of switching over into muscle building type of plan. And exercise does supplement and help you offset some of that TEE, maybe the lower TEE that you hit as you lose weight. So I think the number one thing, I'm sorry, what's your name? Redonda, is to listen to your body. Okay. Drink lots of water if you're starting to exercise more, but listen to your body, and your body will tell you signs if you're overdoing it. Maybe you get a headache, you get lightheaded, dizzy. And as you go on your journey, your body's going to get acclimated, just like with 3 weeks, like Dr. A says, to hold off, maybe your body will get used to the increase in motion. And if it could tolerate it, just, 225, it's not going to be detrimental to you if your body is able to cope, because it's using some of the extra stored energy fat in fat cells that your body is designed to carry for that. So, just keep, the importance of it is to track, because you're like, oh, I did 250 and I got lightheaded. Okay, now I need to go back and dial it down. Oh, 225, I'm good. 300 calories, oh, it's too much. I was extra hungry today. So that's why.
Oh, I didn't mean calories. I meant, oh, I see. I did mean calories. You're right.
Calories
right.
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 Okay. Makes sense. And
Yes,
if you guys, I understand we're 5 minutes over time, and you guys might have individual questions. And again, you could always post it to Nourish, and I'll try to get in there, and some of the other coaches, and we'll help you. And that's one of the beauty of being a health coach, is to help people get an understanding and move forward in their life. And it's super rewarding. And that's why a lot of us all do that. And so if you, all it takes is just being a client, and you already are a step ahead of your family and friends that may be interested, and you could totally guide other people in it, and we all work together. So that's something, if you want to talk to your coach about on your next check-in, definitely I would recommend it, because it's done huge for me and my family. So that's all I have today. I'll let Tim close us out if there's anything else you want to announce.
No, did you have a challenge for them, or did you?
It was, oh, sorry. So the challenge, I challenge you guys all to go through and actually calculate your current TEE based on that formula that Dr. A gives us. It's your weight, current weight times 11, and then multiply it by light, moderate, or heavy. Do all of them. And then share that with your coach, and your coach could kind of help you get an understanding of how much weight loss you actually projected based on the 5-in-1 or 4-in-2 that you're doing. And you can really have a better understanding of why you're only losing 2 pounds, or you're losing 5 pounds, or you're losing 10 pounds. It'll make sense when you understand the science behind it and the math behind it. So definitely do that. It's an easy thing. And we'll look forward to seeing some of your questions and shares in Nourish as well. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Chris. Awesome job. And thank you everybody that shared. There was one question in the chat I wanted just to address quickly. It was around the cue that Chris talked about. And so with every element in the life book, anytime Dr. A says in section 2.8 of your Habits of Health book, or whatever section, the recommendation, because these books were meant to be used together, is that you just spend 5 minutes a day. And when you get to a cue, like he has here in element 14, you spend 5 minutes a day working through that section of the Habits Health book. And then you come back to page, in this example, page 270, if you're on element 14, and you continue reading there for 5 minutes a day. And so that way you see how it works synergistically together. You use the information, you're processing the questions that he's asking in element 14. And so I hope that answered your question, Sheila, and helpful for everyone else. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing weekend, and we appreciate you all being here this morning. Take care.